All right, welcome back, friends. It's the Soul Material Podcast, the podcast you cheer for, the channel you cheer for, and we're back with another episode of that sneaker business talk. So let's dive in. I'm T. Mark, the Street Shark.
And I'm the man, your man, everybody's man. Come to sneakers, the OGEO. Welcome back.
All right, we're going to dive back into part two. We're talking about timelines of releases. We talked a little bit about delayed timelines and what's going on with some of these sneaker brands. And why is it taking so long? What's going on? And how does this impact the consumer as far as, their stake in the timeline of the rollout, how you receive it, where the hype is created, and then actually to the point where you can purchase it and get it in hand. So, OG, let's just get the rest off of our chest about the gripes, some of these timelines. We talked about Nike basketball. We've seen stuff on the court last season. Now we got to wait till next season. Some of the players aren't on the same teams, so it kind of defeats the purpose of the PE if they're not on the same team by the time we can purchase the shoe. This is the time, we're on the soapbox. Let the people know how you feel about some of those elongated timelines, and then we'll talk about some newer things and some particularly shorter timelines that some other brands could learn from.
Understood. Well, the first part of this conversation slash soapbox, we talked about the delay of the book one, that all-star one that took over a year. I drew concerns as far as when Zion first was drafted and Jordan Brand, and I was kind of on that wavelength. I thought was going to be a wavelength and waiting a little bit longer for a couple of colorways he had on the court that I totally just lost interest in. And then we talked about back in the day in which, if you saw a PE, you knew you had no access to getting it unless you were going to spend a rack of money in getting it. And then we also discussed in our previous episode as far as, hey, lightning struck and things kind of happen. And with a person like Tyrese Halliburton, sorry, literally next year is not guaranteed because of unfortunate injury. And we all know that unfortunate injuries have literally shifted a whole conference in the NBA, the Eastern Conference in particular, that we have never seen, I think, ever. And I have been watching and been a fan of NBA since the 85, 86 season when I started collecting basketball cards, looking at the stats, watching the games. I was a huge Bullets fan, although we was, sorry as I don't know what. So let's dive right into that, Martin, because we're looking at Halliburton, but we're also looking at, a person like a Tatum, almost like Zion, in which the next face of Jordan Brand, and now he's going to be out for a year. And now we're talking about also, my man, Cash Money, Dame, man, my Damian Lillard, man. As far as I'm coming from a smaller school, how he's played, how he's developed, time in Portland, things in Milwaukee, did not go as planned because the plan was a chip, and now he's going to be out for an entire season. But the strategy's changed because with him, Martin and I have kind of saw that, hold up, something else is going on here. So as opposed to it being a delay, we are seeing that they not only dropped his shoe that's supposed to come out next season, but from our standpoint, looks like the price point is a little bit cheaper. And we see other athletes currently wearing them, and it's the WNBA. So from a strategic standpoint, adidas, we see what you did there. That's the way you're going to go about it because the season's still going on. He's still out. Dame's going to come back with a vengeance. Where he's going, where he's going to be, we don't know. But in the meantime, between time, let's put a pin in that, as I talked about in the previous episode. Here's a lightning in the board a little bit. Here is the gap year, but we're going to have these athletes, and they are balling right now in the WNBA. It's now at a peak now as far as popularity. It's being talked about social media. All the stars have aligned in that league. Why not have a person, maybe even Tatum, even to have a couple athletes rock his shoe and still keep it going in that league? So, Martin, I'll shout it out to you because we've never seen that before at this level and at this. But again, desperate times, as we always say, desperate measures. But I'm not sure if it was so desperate by Adidas. I thought it was a great strategy.
Yeah, with the Dames, we got the Dame 9 this past season that he was rocking in, and unfortunately, had the calf, had the blood clot, and then when he finally came back in the playoffs, he blew out that Achilles, so we saw, some lineage of that of calf strains, and then they turned into blown Achilles. I think everyone we named, Dame, Tatum, and Halliburton all had calf related injuries like strains right in proximity to their bed. So shout out to the Dame 9, even though this is the Bape edition. Got that Bape still on the back. We've talked about these in the past, but just showing them off again for the Dame 9 as we're getting ready for the Dame 10s. All right, and yes, they have gone down under $100. They're $90. All right, has some vibrant colors, but we're highlighting Dame because it's known that he's probably not going to play all next year, or the majority. You're not playing before the All Star break. Next, the Bucks waived him, or bought him out. That is, so he's not even going to be on the same team again. So we don't even know what team, and we might not know what team he's on until the calendar year 2026 crosses over, because he has the right to take his time, because he's about to make about 23 million for the next 5. He don't have to play, so he gets to pick and choose and be a free agent, unrestricted, and do whatever he wants to do. Honestly, so it's just interesting that the brand Adidas knew that you weren't going to see the product on the court from the signature athlete. So what did they pivot and do? Put it on other professional athletes that you can see on the court right now. The WNBA, because their season is in the summertime. Oh, wait, did this drop in proximity, within 30 days before the WNBA All-Star game? Maybe that's part of the plan as well. So just to see Chelsea Gray, the Aces, and then you have Cunningham. Oh, you picked a player from the Indiana Fever, huh? What's special about the Indiana Fever? Are they on TV? Why are they on TV? That sounds like a play out of the Curry brand playbook. It's like, hey, we can't get to this Steph Curry guy, but hey, Bazemore here. Just stand next to him, and they'll ask some questions later and want to be a part of like what's going on over there. So really, kudos to Adidas for the pivot. Really like how we've talked about the Anthony Edwards rollout, and it was like, hey, it's not broke, so don't fix it. So we don't need to release another signature shoe this year. Like that was the asterisk of, let's ride the wave, win all the awards, sneaker of the year. Let's line them up, and then when people finally get tired, we'll move on to the next one. This is why we question: do we need signatures every year? That's been what it was going on. But some of these athletes have, do you need 30? You're not Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So, like, do you need that many? Or can you just stretch it out a little bit and just say, a season and a half may be season and summer combined. But right now, it just feels like half a season, summer, and the full next season is the time is the timeline. So happy to see Adidas capture the moment and utilize the WNBA. So speaking of WNBA, another brand has utilized the WNBA to help spark their return. All right, so go back to the Reebok Power Moves episode that we have, or if you want to check out the Netflix special as well, you'll learn about some of their strategies behind the scenes of entering the basketball market again. If you watch the documentary, you saw that Shaq wanted to swing for the fences with some top tier athletes that none of them really panned out. But the people working at the company was just like, yeah, like we understand that that's what you want to do, but it's probably better to build and get a player from every league. We want somebody in the G League. We want the upcoming high school player. We need somebody in the WNBA, and we need somebody that's young and up and coming in the NBA. Get some of the new athletes, or some of these, catch somebody that's balling out in summer league or something like that, and say, does he have potential to fit where the direction that they're going? So let's talk about Angel Reese. All right, because that's been the centerpiece to Reebok, whether men's or women's in their comeback, of the new age athlete, and they utilize Angel Reese for the Reebok Engine A that they released. Pretty cool model that was modernized using their ERS cushioning technology, and we got to see it on the court. Angel Reese has a PE that you can buy in the stores right now with her Reebok's logo, the AR logo that she has. And she's already had some apparel released through the brands. You got the PE that you can get on shelves that, like I said, that are on shelves right now in regular retail stores and sporting goods stores. But now, in proximity to the WNBA All-Star game that's coming up later on in July, we now have seen the signature shoe of Angel Reese. It looks actually a lot like the silhouette of the Engine A. So it made me say, like, was that so good of a shoe for her that she didn't want to go too far? And just make it her own. If you watch the Netflix series, you'll see some behind the scenes of their design process and everything like that, and some of the models that actually got scrapped. If you pause and pay attention to what's going on the screens in the background. But yeah, with Angel, I just thought, again, just another example of rapid fire. This is the moment, and we're pushing all of our chips in for this moment, and it'll just build bigger moments. But for now, she's a WNBA All Star. Okay, she's leading the league in rebounding. She is the face of Reebok. Now she's the WNBA cover athlete for NBA 2K. Okay, and then the All Star game come up, and then like all of those, the shoe. Oh, guess what? The signature shoe is featured on the cover of the video game. All right, and of course you can unlock the shoe and do all this other special stuff. So I thought it was a perfect storm to announce we didn't get any teases of silhouettes or timelines of Angel Reese. It just boom. It was like this is a big statement here, but it was a Beyonce-ish, like all of this just happened at midnight overnight, and then what happened? You know what I'm saying? World stop. You know what I'm saying? Where, wait, signature shoe, video game cover athlete, all-star appearance, all happens simultaneously. If Reebok, kudos, if you're trying to build momentum, you're trying to be a part of the brand to tell these grassroots stories and then translate them, I'm all for it. So what do you think, OG, about Reebok and their strategies and locking in on the WNBA as well?
No, I not only enjoyed what you just said, Martin, because we are very balanced and very even here. Again, clarity over popularity, sneaker business talk, because things like that we give kudos to because um, we're both highly functional, intelligent people, and you say, that wasn't by coincidence. So on the same token, we'll talk about other brands who may be lagging their feet and may not be putting the resources toward things they should be. Like, maybe they are lagging their feet. So it's just a balance all the way around, man. But them even having a documentary, again, you talk about things lining up. You talked about the documentary multiple times, but them revealing some things that they revealed. Like you said, if you got that eye, you watch an episode twice, like, oh. Again, thus things that other brands aren't doing. And if you are going to come back into a market that you were literally head to head in, 30, 40 years ago, you have to kind of do these type of things and not only be strategic, but know how to hit your mark. And sometimes, as we know, shark, sometimes it's going to be lightning in a bottle. You've got to be there for it, but you got to capitalize on it too. So I love the balance of Reebok being strategic, but not being so overly forceful the way it looks like it's blatant and it gets bland really, really quick. And they got the right athlete, man. I wish Chicago would do a little bit better in the standings, but we know basketball's still a team sport. But individually, from a marketing standpoint, we're in the NIL, stratosphere, if you will, now. And Andrews was a part of the infancy of that, transferring from Maryland to LSU and everything else. So she's kind of had that bag and how she wanted her image and brand and likeness to be. So just seeing how things are still working out for her with a brand that's looking forward to getting back on top. Um, they're doing it the right way. I want to see what they're going to do now, Martin, after all of this, because after the All-Star game, this is when you get into your bag of which, okay, fine, that honeymoon period, then what we going to do now after the All-Star game? If they don't make the playoffs, winter time is going to come. How are you going to keep her still relevant as far as on the basketball with her brand, possibly with the well, she's gonna do something with the NBA, or she's gonna be a part of the NBA All Star game. But they're gonna try to push that a little bit. So I'm just intrigued on their strategy moving forward. But again, kudos to Reebok and Adidas because we talk about other brands that look like they are just being a little bit too privileged for our own good now.
Yeah, and with Reebok, it's just going to be interesting to see how they're going to play this out because you're capturing this moment, but your consumer, the young girls, all right. Well, basketball isn't. WNBA is summer season only for WNBA. Basketball's in the winter, all right. So all the young girls that are actually going to wear your shoe, that's going to happen in the wintertime anyway.
Grassroots.
You know what I mean? So, and the kids and the girls that were wearing it now, like unless you got the AAU team and all this other stuff, like it's not on the market. They're not on their feet right now. Unless you already seeded them. But other than that, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And one of the reasons why, again, we don't. These are authentic takes from us. We're not getting paid. We're not either way from any of these brands. And what I want to also just in a so material way, tie in. You know, why are we? You know, applauding Reebok. You know, again, we're old school. I told you about some of my favorite shoes ever were Reebok. You know, and we've dissected some of Reebok's cushioning systems and with the original designers and things like that. So, like, we really take pride in having these conversations. And when you have a Reebok signature athlete, we just hadn't had one in so long. You know what I mean? So even whether it's Angel Reese or not, but we did have one, and as the home base, the origins, the soul materials, and the DMV, the nation's capital. So there once was a Reebok signature athlete. All right, the point guard, John Wall. All right, John Wall got the number 2 with this signature. All right, now this is what's different. I got these because I love the home team or whatever, and I'm supporting all the way. Look at that. You look at his logo. I was just like, come on. There's like, man, somebody we didn't do good. You didn't do him justice. You know, we need the new modern designers to come back and do this. But the thing that disappointed me with the first few, and matter of fact, half of John stay with Reebok because that was the time where Reebok and then merged with Adidas, and then he started wearing Adidas because it was the same parent company, and then they broke off again later and everything. That now they're back. But with John Wall, this right here, this Zig Tech was just dog and pony show. All right. This was really some technology that they use in running shoes, which I did. I used to work for the Wizards and do basketball camps, so they actually gave us Reebok shoes, and I have more Zig running shoes. If I only wore them because they made me, they were not that comfortable at all. You know what I mean? So I can imagine why John had early like knee problems that subsided over time. Because these were just not friendly for the wear and tear and the speed that he had. But they gave him a bag, so he wore the technology they kind of told him to wear. So I'm happy that they are using technology in the newer series that actually makes sense for the athlete and not actually just forcing. Well, we put so much money into this Zig Nano technology that we're just going to force it on everything. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to slam it down we're going to do it CrossFit, we're going to do running, and we're going to do basketball. And we don't care if it's a varying degree. Like they're all, it doesn't translate to the activity. So some stuff just isn't like, look at this traction. You're just lucky John was just naturally fast. Like this was just made for linear. You know what I'm saying? It feels like it was made for linear movement. There was no stop and go that was really fully thought about in this. So Reebok, you've come a long way. I just want to acknowledge that. You know, not everyone's this loyal to their fan to get their shoes, but this is why we said like you got to keep the shoe in this with the player that's in the same city. You know, like even the box on these, we had the extra artwork with the Wizard and the DC monikers in here, and then there was a couple colorways where you stack the boxes and it made a whole mosaic here. This is the Wall Season 2 encore. So that Zig technology, like, I'm so glad that this never was ever going to come back or whatever. But you know, I felt like this was like a money grab. You know, where we, you know, John, take the bag, but this didn't help Reebok. You should be ashamed of yourself. But you redeemed it. You redeemed it. Really just wanted to show that off too. Home team, you know, we got to squeeze it in there. The DC reference from the Soul Material podcast.
And Angel Reese being a DMV, let's call it what it is.
There you go, bringing it all back
From
home.
Baltimore.
Home team. All right. So yeah, and then just you know, we talked about Reebok, talking about Adidas, and so the only other brand that we hadn't talked about that we be remiss if we didn't you know, and I think it's good that we're going to end on this particular brand is Converse, because we talked about elongated timelines, short timelines. Well, I feel like Converse is a little in the middle, all right, because we saw the teasers. We went to All Star Weekend. Converse unveiled the the shoe, the Shea One. So we see it. You couldn't. It was just a model, you know, and they showed you, and it was like this giant shoe in their display. And then they showed the layers of the material. So go to our Instagram page, and you'll see some exclusive behind the scenes on location videos recapping that experience, because the Shark was on location in the Bay Area for the 2025 NBA All Star Weekend. So we got some exclusive looks of what that Converse setup looked like. So just putting a marker in that timeline to say that's when we first saw the shoe. All right. Now we saw the shoe perform in the playoffs. But and then MVP, Finals MVP, champion, and my question mark says now we're supposed to be getting this shoe in the fall. Okay, but the question mark is his storytelling. I just felt like didn't fully hit home. Because they told some very personal, in-depth stories of the colorways. This represents, his brother's favorite color, and then there's another about his wife, and then this is so. But it's just like, if we can't touch the shoe and get it right now, that super deep personal line, I don't know if that's going to hit, because by the time you get to see it, do you know that that's the story? You know, and we got to see you wear it. But I will say a piece of redemption that the other brands may not have done is, at least during the championship parade, you had a promo truck and y'all gave away X amount of at least the home team.
There you go.
The home team could
There you
get
go.
the shoe of their
There you go.
favorite player. Okay.
There you go.
And they did it at the championship parade. So
Go.
other markets, they literally can't even get mad that they can't get it right now, because you should understand the context of why it's delivered in that in that space. You know what I mean? So that's what I like. I miss those days of the Kyrie in Boston doing the concepts collaboration, or the Kyrie Krispy Kremes, and you got the Krispy Kreme truck, like those type of things, just to see Converse, I think that they understood what we're talking about here, that they needed to do something in that moment, to make sure that they did something to capitalize on Like you don't get MVP and championship finals MVP. That's a strike of lightning. You know what I mean? So thunder, if you will. So why would you not? If they did nothing, that would have been stupid. So glad that they seeded the market. Yes, unfortunately they're popping up in the resale, and so it is what it is. But if everyone wants to be patient, I'm just interested to see what that attrition is going to look like when this next season starts, and we get into the fall and go into the holidays of how much people are going to care about the stories. Because you kind of we already see like 3, 4, 5 colors or whatever it is. So it's just like we're still gonna have to wait until the All Star next year. Like I don't believe that he would be wearing the shade 2 at next year's All Star game. I just come back and leave a comment after a while if I'm wrong. But that I think that's something to look out for, and making sure that Shea or Converse, it's like we got to hold the brands accountable. So we gotta let them know when they're doing good, let them know when they're doing bad, and
There you
and
go.
and, and understand. Let them know that we have stake in the this industry, and we're not cheap. All right. I think that's how we kind of started this conversation, talking about how consumers are a little sheepish, and brands can kind of get away with stuff like this. But if we having the conversation. We welcome anyone else to join in into the comments on these episodes. And let's keep the conversation going on how you feel about are the timelines impacting your decision making when it comes to what shoes you're purchasing, when you want them, and or if you want them and then later you don't want them because you can't have access to them. And then you just move on to the next thing. Sounds like a lot of wanting and wishing that you'll never actually have, but that's part of the hype beast train and all the social anxiety that comes with what's coming next and the unknown, and forecasting what's coming up. So, any other thoughts from the OG on Converse in particular, as we wind down the B side of this timeline conversation?
Definitely in closing, I'm going to see how adaptable Converse is going to be because we know behind the scenes, Tony, um, these guys have their vision boards and they have things solidified. And of course, when you have a guy that wins MVP, then finals MVP and wins a championship, you got to make sure you got some pencil on that board that you can erase and write again. So, with that being said, we may see the Shake 2 at All-Star Game. And if we do, that will be breaking the current mode and going back into the mode of what we are used to seeing in the past. But you still got to tell the story with the one. So we'll see how things go because depending on how things go with popularity, social media has a whole lot to do as far as influence. Let's just see. But we are entering, as far as this NBA season, this 25-26 season, literally the wild, wild west, man. We don't know what's going on. Player movement is going rampant, and guys, as far as colorways and the teams they're going to be on, this is going to be wild. So I'm going to see how brands adjust, but I'm really intrigued to see what Converse does because right now they have arguably the best player in the league next to the Joker, depending on who you talk to. And right now, again, I'm that guy like Ric Flair says, to beat the man, you got to beat the man. So Converse, you got the number one guy right now. Let's see what you're going to do. But a lot of these brands got to step up because a lot of their strategy is going to have to be adaptable or adapt because of injuries and player movement and what's going on. So for me, it's an exciting time because like you, Shark, I'm looking forward to see how I'm going to strike, when I'm going to strike, what's going to fall off, what I have my eye on that may not be as popular, so I can get not only for a deal, but for a steal and for the kill, as I say. So I'm looking forward to some art acquisitions. There goes a tease for you that we're going to have in the future because I think the player movement is really going to show again the cream rising to the top is the best way that I can put it. And it may just not be the brand that you may think of this upcoming season, given the athletes and what's going on. We are at a point in closing, Martin, that I think that things are going to be very even with the timelines of what we're talking about, and some of the mistakes that can be made that brands can make is going to cost them, and it's going to make things better for us. It's going to make things get marked down and be cheaper for us as the consumer. So we'll see. As I say, in my saying, man, as far as when I play cards, man, let's call a spade and see you follow suit.
There you go. There you go. All right. So another episode in the books from the podcast you cheer for, the channel you cheer for, giving that sneaker business talk, and always clarity over popularity. All right. So till next time, friends, we are signing off. It's T Mark the Street Shark.
And OGO, until next time, peace to you.
Sneaker business talk. It's the Soul Material Podcast.